Hi, my name is Adam Derlashon, and my wife Christie and I and our 4 beautiful children are in the process of becoming missionaries in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Christie and I have been dating since high school. When you're kids, you talk about the most random things. What are you going to be when you grow up? What are you going to do? Where are you going to live? And one of the things that we had always talked about was adoption. Well, fast forward a few years. We got married. We had 2 beautiful biological children, Maggie and Hazel. And we received this magazine in the mail. It was a relevant magazine. And in there it profiled a missionary that worked in Africa, the Horn of Africa, with widows and orphans and just providing a safe haven for those affected by the sex trafficking industry. The article was so powerful that it brought Christie and I to tears. But we didn't know how to act on it. Our actions were full of excuses. We thought, maybe when we're retired, or maybe when the kids are older, or we can't do that right now. That's not for us. That's not our calling. Well, a few months after that, my wife and I were drinking coffee. We were sitting at the dinner table. It was kind of a nightly ritual. We'd make a pot of coffee after the kids go to bed and just sit there and talk about the day. Well, we were talking about the day, and Christie had approached me and said, "Adam, what do you think about adoption?" Which is the craziest thing, because God had been laying it on my heart just days prior. So, sensing God's call on our lives, we started the adoption process. And we went through so many different interviews and filled out so many forms. It was pretty crazy. And in the final stages, we found out that we were pregnant. So we were going to be shifting from a family of 4 to a family of 6. We traveled in December of 2009. While we were in Ethiopia, we stayed in this hotel that catered to Americans, and we ate American food and more or less lived an extension of our lives here or there. Christie was in her first trimester and not feeling well, and the whole time all we did was yearn to come home and to see our family and to bring our newest addition to our family home. Just a few months later, in July of 2010, we welcomed Emery into our family, Emerson Thomas. And shortly thereafter, God started laying the idea of mission work on our hearts. To kind of test the waters, I signed up for a mission trip this past February. And I went, and it was incredible. I was able to experience firsthand what it was like to love on these people that didn't know love. I can recall vividly going to the village, Kore, which is actually adjacent to the dump there, because that's where they get their food. And this 6'5" young man with a cane, staring up into space, just kind of walked into me. And he asked me if I had sunglasses, because he wanted something to protect his eyes. His name was Girman. He's actually blind. He's a full orphan. And he's now one of my best friends. We sat there. I got him a pair of sunglasses, and we were there for about 2 hours. And during that period in time, we talked about everything from America to Injera to Michael Jackson to Teddy Afro to who knows what else. I think I may have even danced for him, not that he could really see anything. Over that period in time, he hugged me, he kissed me, he held my hand, he put his arm around me, told me he loved me. It was one of those marked moments that God likes to put in your life, when you can look back at it at all times, regardless of how you're feeling and what you're doing. You can just think back to that moment and smile. Shortly after coming home from our mission trip, Christie and I had sat down and we talked more about the prospect of becoming missionaries. I shared my experiences, and we both knew it was affirming that that's where we need to go and that's what we need to be doing. Just because my wife and I are becoming missionaries, and my children are becoming missionaries. It doesn't mean that we're any further along in our walk, or doesn't mean that we've arrived. We still deal with the same struggles. Each of us has so many things that we can improve on. It's not about that. It's just about following God's calling on your life and where He's taking you. And when you're following God's calling in your life, His calling is strong. But that doesn't mean that Satan's not going to try to get to you each and every day to tear you down. Whether it's an unexpected bill, or your car breaks down, or someone is sick. It happens. It happens. You just have to remain steadfast in your faith and just trust that God's going to take care of you.